don't use the D word at all. I only write when I feel like it, which is luckily quite often. So I never sit in front of an empty screen or an empty sheet of paper, tearing my hair out with anxiety. I just go out if that happens. So what happens is an idea niggles at me until I can't really avoid it anymore, and then I sit down and do it.
So you said you go out to get your stories. Where do they come from? Is it sort of the world around you, places you've been, or is it more?
They arrive in all sorts of different ways. Some, I just, for example, anecdotes told me by somebody, and I just say, "Can I have it?" My best ghost story came from a vicar in Buxton. Other stories turn up in dreams. You wake up with them in the morning. Poems, I wake up in the morning. I often wake up with a poem. It's quite spooky. Otherwise, gosh, it's very hard to explain this without sounding mystical. They just turn up like gifts a lot of the time. I can't really say it in any other way.
And you rather have to get them down immediately on paper, or
yeah, because you can very quickly forget them. So I mean, I always have a notebook, which is, I've got hundreds of these notebooks, all full of scribblings, and my daughter's scribblings. So
And you were briefly in military yourself, very
Yes.
briefly, I understand.
Yeah.
And obviously this book takes place within the first World War, isn't it?
it's the first half, yes, and then it goes on from there.
So
Yeah.
why is it that period that sort of that the military world that holds a fascination for you as a backdrop for your stories?
My family was traditionally military. My father was an army officer. My mother was a naval officer in the Second World War. She was controlling submarines in the Indian Ocean. And my grandparents were caught up in the war before that. I come from the kind of family where you were either in the army or the clergy. You know what I mean? You were either church or armed forces. And I broke the tradition because I only lasted in the army for 6 months.
And what was it about being in the army that didn't stick?
I was too young and immature. I was only just 18. And also it was towards the end of the hippie period when people like me thought we were pacifists and just wanted to grow our hair long and play the guitar. I still basically just want to sit around and play the guitar. So my main problem though was that I just couldn't stand being told what to do all the time. I wasn't officer material. I'd be much better at it now than I was at 18.
So, The Dust That Falls then. Tell us a bit about what that story is, what the characters will say about it.
It's based on the fact that my grandmother lost her fiancé in 1915 and it completely changed the course of her life, and therefore it changed everybody's lives in the family. I wouldn't be here if her fiancé hadn't been killed, if you think about it. So writing the novel was partly a homage to her dead fiancé, thanks to whom I exist.
A strange thing to be thankful for, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, I also quite a lot to Hitler, because my mother met my father in Germany after the Second World War.
It's quite an anecdote, so many people could tell. You've also got a poetry collection going on. It's sort of a lifetime of poems sort of collected. Is it sort of almost like an autobiography without writing an autobiography?
Some of them are autobiographical, others are fictional. Quite a lot of them are inspired by other poets. I find that if I read a lot of poetry, it gets me writing it. And I find myself, if I've been reading a collection of poetry from the Middle East, I start writing something as if I was from the Middle East. It's quite strange.
And finally, what else have you got coming next? After?
Well, I'm working on volumes 2 and 3 of The Dust That Falls from Dreams. I'm still writing a lot of poems. I've got at least enough for 2 anthologies. I've got enough short stories for 2 collections. And in the summer, a tiny little book will come out called Blue Dog, which is more adventures of a dog in Australia.